Fallujah, November 2004. The name alone makes veterans go quiet. Sergeant Jake Mitchell stood in a destroyed building, staring at his last magazine. 7 rounds left. His squad was pinned down. Bullets tore through the walls. Dust and smoke filled every corner. Someone was screaming for a medic. The building shook with each explosion. Then he heard it. A voice from the rubble. Weak, desperate. "Help! Please, someone help me!" Jake turned. A Marine, maybe 19 years old, trapped under a massive concrete slab. His legs crushed beneath the weight. Blood pooled around him. Dark, too much blood. The kid's name tape read Carson. His face was gray. His eyes were starting to fade. "Don't move," Jake shouted over the gunfire. "I'm coming for you." His lieutenant grabbed his arm hard. "Mitchell, we gotta go now. This whole building's gonna collapse in minutes." Jake pulled away. "There's a man down in there. He's already gone," the lieutenant said. "Look at him. We leave right now, or we all die here." Jake looked at Carson, then at his squad. 7 rounds in his magazine. Not enough ammunition to fight their way out if he stayed behind. Not enough time to save them both. He made a choice that would change everything. "Go," Jake said. "I'll catch up with you." The lieutenant's face went white. "Mitchell, that's suicide." "Then it's suicide. Move your squad out. Now." "That's an order." The lieutenant stared at him for 3 seconds. Then he nodded. The squad ran, boots pounding, voices fading. Jake stayed alone. He crawled through the rubble, shattered concrete, twisted metal, broken glass cutting his hands. Bullets pinged off the walls around him. Dust filled his lungs. He couldn't breathe, but he kept moving. He reached Carson. The kid's eyes flickered open. You came back." "Yeah, kid, I came back. Now let's get you out of here." Jake grabbed the concrete slab with both hands. It wouldn't budge. He pulled harder. Nothing. His muscles screamed. Carson coughed up blood. It ran down his chin. "My mom," he whispered. "Tell her I wasn't scared at the end." "You're gonna tell her yourself," Jake said. "You hear me? You're not dying today." He looked around, found a piece of rebar, jammed it under the slab, used his rifle as a lever. The concrete shifted, 1 inch, 2 inches. His hands were bleeding now, the skin on his palms torn open. The building shook again, mortar fire getting closer. The ceiling cracked above them. Chunks of concrete fell. Carson's voice was fading. "Just leave me. Save yourself. Please." Jake ignored him. He pulled with everything he had, every ounce of strength in his body. The slab moved. 6 inches. Enough. He grabbed Carson under the arms and dragged him out. The wall behind them collapsed. Dust exploded everywhere. They made it out with seconds to spare. Outside, the street was pure chaos. Gunfire from every direction. RPGs screaming overhead. No cover anywhere. No backup in sight. Carson couldn't stand. Both his legs were destroyed. Jake threw him over his shoulder in a fireman's carry. Started running. 1 block. His lungs burned. 2 blocks. His legs were giving out. Carson was dead weight. Jake's vision blurred. He stumbled, fell. Both of them crashed into an alley. Carson lay beside him, gasping, barely breathing. Blood everywhere. "Why?" Carson whispered, his voice so quiet Jake almost missed it. "Why'd you stay for me? You don't even know me." Jake looked at him. Saw himself 6 months ago. "Because someone stayed for me once," Jake said, "when everyone else ran. Let me take you back. 6 months earlier, Outpost Raven, an unnamed forward operating base in the desert. Just a checkpoint on a map. No official name. No strategic value. Just sand and heat and fear." Jake was fresh off the transport, 22 years old. First deployment. Scared out of his mind but trying not to show it. His first patrol went wrong within an hour. Ambush at a crossroads. IED hidden in the road. His Humvee hit it dead center. The vehicle flipped 3 times. Jake woke up inside, upside down. Trapped. Fuel leaking everywhere. Flames spreading fast. He could smell his own skin starting to burn. He screamed for help. Screamed until his throat was raw. His squad scattered. Taking cover. Standard protocol. Don't run toward the fire. Everyone followed protocol. Everyone except one man. Staff Sergeant Daniel Torres, 38 years old. 3 tours, a wife and 2 kids back home. Torres didn't hesitate. He ran straight into the flames, grabbed Jake's vest, pulled him through the window with his bare hands. His gloves melted off. The skin on his forearms blistered and burned. But he didn't let go. "I got you, kid," Torres said. "I got you. You're going to be okay." Jake survived. Burns on his legs, broken ribs, concussion, but alive. Torres spent 3 weeks in a field hospital. 2nd-degree burns on both arms. They wanted to send him home. He refused. Before he went back to his unit, he came to see Jake one last time. Torres sat beside his bed, looked him in the eye, said something Jake would never forget. "Listen to me carefully," Torres said. "One day you're going to have a moment, a choice. Run or stay. When that moment comes, don't hesitate. Someone always needs you to stay. Be the guy who stays." Jake nodded. He didn't understand it then, but he would. Back in that alley in Fallujah, Carson was fading, his breathing shallow, irregular. Jake radioed for extraction. Static. He tried again. Nothing. The radio was dead. Carson's lips were turning blue, his eyes rolling back. "Tell my mom I love her," he whispered. "Tell her I tried to be brave." "No," Jake said. "You stay with me. You understand? You stay right here." Footsteps, heavy boots on concrete, multiple people. Jake raised his rifle. 3 rounds left. He aimed at the corner. A figure appeared through the dust. Enemy? Friendly? He couldn't tell. His finger on the trigger. The dust cleared. Lieutenant Harris, Jake's squad, all of them. They'd come back. "Thought you could have all the glory yourself," Harris said. He was smiling, but his eyes were wet. "Not on my watch, Mitchell. We don't leave people behind. Remember?" They lifted Carson together, 4 of them carrying him on an improvised stretcher made from a door. They moved through 2 miles of urban warfare, buildings exploding around them, snipers on the rooftops, IEDs in the street. But they didn't stop. They didn't leave him. They made it to the convoy. Medics swarmed Carson, started IVAs, packed his wounds, loaded him onto a medevac. He was still alive, barely, but breathing. 3 months later, Walter Reed Medical Center, Washington, D.C. Jake sat in a waiting room. White walls, fluorescent lights, the smell of disinfectant. He hadn't seen Carson since Fallujah. Didn't know if he'd made it. Didn't know if he'd even want to see Jake. A nurse called his name, led him down a long hallway, opened a door. Carson sat in a wheelchair by the window, both legs amputated below the knee. But he was sitting up, alert. When he saw Jake, his face broke into the biggest smile. "Sergeant Mitchell." Jake's throat went tight. He couldn't speak for a second. "How you doing, kid?" "Alive," Carson said. "Because of you." They shook hands. Carson's grip was strong, stronger than Jake expected. "My mom's here," Carson said. "She wants to meet you." An older woman stood up from a chair in the corner. She walked over, tears streaming down her face. She hugged Jake so hard he thought his ribs might crack. "You brought my son home," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to thank me," Jake said. "He just did what anyone would do." "No," she said. "Most people wouldn't, but you did." Carson pulled out his phone, showed Jake a photo. Carson standing on prosthetic legs, running. "I'm training for a 5K, Carson said. "Next year I'm doing a marathon." Jake stared at the photo. "You're incredible, kid." "No," Carson said. "You taught me something. You don't quit. You don't leave people behind. Now I'm going to live like that. I'm going to help people the way you helped me." 2 years passed. Jake was out of the Marines. Honorable discharge. He tried to go back to normal life. Got a job in construction, lived in a small apartment, tried to forget the war, tried to forget the sounds, the smells, the faces. One night his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. "Sergeant Mitchell?" a voice said. "Yeah, who's this?" "This is Officer David Carson, NYPD. I just pulled a family out of a burning building tonight. Mother, father, and a 3-year-old girl." All of them made it because I didn't hesitate. Jake sat up straight. Carson? You taught me something in that alley in Fallujah, Carson said. When your moment comes, don't run. Stay. Tonight was my moment. I stayed. Jake's eyes filled with tears. You did good, kid. No, Sergeant, Carson said. We did good. You, me, Torres. We all did good. The call ended. Jake sat alone in his apartment, thinking about Torres, about Carson, about the chain. Torres stayed for him. He stayed for Carson. Carson stayed for a family. And somewhere, that 3-year-old girl would grow up. Maybe one day she'd stay for someone too. That's how it works. That's the chain. 5 years later, Jake received a letter. No return address. Inside was a photo. Carson in his police uniform, standing beside a teenager. The note said, "This is Marcus. I pulled him out of a gang 2 years ago. He just graduated from the fire academy." The chain continues. Thank you for starting it. Jake pinned the photo on his wall, right next to a photo of Torres he'd kept all these years. He stared at both pictures. Two men who'd changed everything. Heroes don't wear capes. They wear boots. They carry rifles. They run toward the fire when everyone else runs away. And sometimes one choice in the dust and blood of Fallujah creates ripples that last forever. Jake learned something in that war. The most important battles aren't fought with bullets. They're fought with choices. Stay or go. Help or walk away. Be brave or be safe. Torres chose to stay. Jake chose to stay. Carson chose to stay. And because of those choices, lives were saved. Families stayed together. A chain was born. Here's the truth nobody tells you about war. It's not about killing enemies. It's about saving your brothers. It's about the guy next to you, the one who's counting on you, the one who'll run into fire if you're trapped inside. That's what matters. Not the medals, not the glory. Just the choice to stay when staying might kill you. Jake thinks about that moment in Fallujah every single day. 7 rounds left, a dying Marine, a collapsing building. He could have run, should have run, but he didn't. And because he didn't, Carson lived. Because Carson lived, a family survived a fire. Because that family survived, a little girl got to grow up. Because she grew up, who knows how many lives she'll touch. That's the power of one choice. That's the weight of staying. So here's my question for you. Who stayed for you? Who ran into the fire when you were burning? Who pulled you out when you were trapped? Think about that person. Remember their face. And more importantly, who are you going to stay for? Because somewhere right now, someone is trapped. Someone is burning. Someone is calling for help. And they need you to stay. They need you to be Torres, to be Jake, to be Carson. The chain only works if we keep it going, if we pass it forward. So don't just watch this story, live it. Be the person who stays. Be the one who runs toward the fire. Leave a comment and tell me about a time someone didn't give up on you, or tell me about a time you didn't give up on someone else. Subscribe if you believe in soldiers who refuse to leave anyone behind. Share this story because the more people who see it, the more people remember what really matters. We don't leave our people behind, not in Fallujah, not in a burning building, not anywhere. Now go out there and be someone's Jake Mitchell. Be someone's Torres. Be the person who stays.